Two elite snipers have guarded a mysterious gorge from both sides for a year. Forced by circumstances to descend, they encounter victims of horrific experiments threatening humanity's survival. The movie opens with Lithuanian sniper Drasa positioning her rifle barrel outward. She targets a distant airfield where a private jet lands. As soon as her target steps onto the stairs, she pulls the trigger, confirming the hit before pocketing the spent shell casing. Meanwhile, Levi, a former Marine sniper suffering from PTSD-induced insomnia, spends his nights riding around the city. Sitting by the sea until dawn, he writes in his notebook. This routine continues until an instruction arrives, ordering him to report to a military base. There, Levi meets the enigmatic woman Bartholomew, who interrogates him about his habits and past work as a hired killer after a psychiatrist relieved him of duty due to his lack of will to live. The woman offers him a new contract. Drasa returns home to visit her mother's grave and sick father. She tells him about her latest mission, handing over a commemorative shell casing. Her father keeps evidence of her killings in a special bag. The girl admits she got caught on camera, and now her superiors are offering her a year-long undercover mission. The problem is that her father is terminally ill and will die during this time, or worse, take his own life to avoid suffering. In September, Levi wakes up from anesthesia on a helicopter. The female pilot confirms his identity, takes his personal belongings, and instructs him to disembark and walk another 38 kilometers to the designated point. Wearing a parachute, the Marine follows orders. He jumps, and upon landing treks through picturesque terrain until he reaches a long gorge whose depths are shrouded in thick fog. There he meets colleague JD, whom Levi has come to replace. JD briefs him. On the western and eastern sides of the gorge are autonomous observation posts powered by generators and solar panels from Western and Eastern European countries. Each post is manned by one person. Contact between observers is prohibited. Nearby, there's a garden, and the forest teems with more game than Twitter has tweets. The main task of the observer is daily perimeter checks, ensuring the integrity of the fence, inspecting automatic machine gun turrets, replacing hanging mines, and repairing the fence if anyone attempts to break through from the gorge. Once a month, communication is checked via the only available channel. Around the perimeter stand antennas emitting fake signals to satellites, rendering the gorge invisible from above. JD also warns that if the security system fails or the perimeter is breached from below, an air siren will activate along with the stray dog protocol. In such a case, one must run as far from the post as possible. Most of the equipment here dates back to the 1940s. After World War II, the West and the USSR signed a secret agreement, unknown even to presidents, to guard the gorge's exit from so-called hollow men. No one knows who they are, but when 3 cavalry battalions were sent into the gorge for cleanup after the war, none returned. JD suspects there's a gateway to hell at the bottom. The next morning, after seeing JD off, Levi begins settling in. Unbeknownst to him, his predecessor, upon reaching the evacuation point, receives a bullet to the head instead of rest and pay, a fact Bartholomew reports. October arrives. Throughout the month, Levi diligently performs his daily routine, maintaining the gorge's defense system, inspecting fences, counting mines, checking turret ammunition, and conducting the monthly communication check. Bored while flipping through books from the sparse library, he notices favorite quotes left by previous observers written on the wall behind a cabinet. One day, curiosity prompts Levi to look through binoculars at the other side of the gorge. There stands the charming Drasa. Sensing someone watching her, she turns around but can't see anything without optics. That night during a thunderstorm, Levi experiences a PTSD episode, panicking and jumping off his mattress. Breaking a glass of water, he wounds his leg. While treating the wound, he notices light in the opposite tower. His colleague is also awake. November arrives. Celebrating her birthday, Drasa overindulges in cake and champagne and craves interaction with Levi across the gorge. She fires a shot into the air to get his attention and writes a question on paper. Reading it through binoculars, the Marine replies that contact is forbidden, but gives in to provocation, offering to drink potato moonshine to her health. The festive communication continues. The girl wants to dance, blasting music, and provokes the guy to demonstrate his sniper skills by shooting his mug. In response, Levi shoots a bottle. When Drasa complicates the task by placing a second bottle on her head, she suddenly notices automatic spotlights activating under her colleague's tower, searching for targets. Leaning over the railing, Levi peers down the sheer cliff. Creepy creatures are already crawling up it. He opens fire on them, followed by a hanging mine detonating, dropping some attackers below. Drasa activates a heavy machine gun on her tower to help her partner shoot down the monsters. Barely finishing off all the creatures, a monster climbs onto her balcony. She starts shooting, and now Levi provides covering fire with a machine gun. During the fight, hanging mines explode, injuring her shoulder. Then, automatic turrets activate, halting the monster attack from the gorge. While Drasa tends to her wound, Levi covers her with rifle fire. The girl thanks him, noting it was the best birthday ever. During the day while cleaning up after the night attack, Levi and Drasa, who's covering him, spot a drone flying out of the fog below. Hovering for a moment, the device speeds off on its important mission. In December, the guy decorates a tree near the tower with spare bulbs, wishing his colleague a Merry Christmas. They continue communicating throughout the month, playing chess or building snowmen for each other. This goes on until February. Drasa grows sad realizing her father is dying at home. She writes Levi wishing he were nearby. Such a request excites the Marine's hypothalamus, sparking a burst of creativity. The guy retrieves a grenade launcher shell, unscrews the warhead, and unrolls a coil of rope in the yard. Securing one end to his side, he attaches the other to the shell and fires it toward the eastern tower. Stunned by such ingenuity, Drasa extinguishes the flare caused by the projectile and ties the rope stretched across the gorge. Levi, having written an invitation to dinner, prepares for the date. He shaves and gathers a modest bouquet of wildflowers. Then, clipping a carabiner to the rope, he accelerates and slides across the abyss. Miscalculating inertia and getting stuck midway, the guy does what he's used to after months of solitude: helps himself with his hands. Soon the colleagues meet face to face. Drasa has prepared rabbit pie but first instructs her guest to shower and change into clothes left by previous observers. They then dine discussing their father's jobs and pasts. The evening ends with dancing smoothly transitioning into intimacy. Later, Levi confesses he writes poetry and has already composed one for her, but he refuses to read it outright. In the morning, the guy prepares to return to his side in time for the monthly communication session. However, during transportation, they realize they've missed another attack. Monsters are already creeping up the wall towards the tower. They set off a mine, and a fragment cuts the rope. Levi falls into the fog, barely managing to activate his parachute. Realizing what's happened, Drasa grabs her parachute and leaps after him. Flying through the yellow fog, she lands in a turbulent river, losing her climbing gear. Levi regains consciousness hanging upside down on a tree. The parachute got stuck. He's attacked by a mutant caterpillar, barely managing to shoot it. Unhooking the straps, he falls into sticky goo that holds him just as well as glue. But what's much scarier is that it's part of a hungry predatory organism slowly closing its jaws. The monster almost catches Levi when Drasa appears, shooting its teeth and helping the guy escape the trap. They trudge through a mist-covered strange forest toward the eastern wall of the gorge to climb back up using the rope. But along the way, they're attacked by sword-wielding riders resembling Pinocchio's illegitimate children. Nevertheless, bullets handle the mutated riders effectively. Reloading, Drasa realizes she's lost her climbing gear, meaning they won't overcome the 500 meters of vertical wall. Thus, they'll have to find a natural exit from the gorge. Examining the attackers, Levi understands these are people from the missing battalions, meaning they've been down here for nearly 80 years. The pair continues through a creepy forest, seemingly created from petrified skeletons in agony. Soon they reach some kind of settlement resembling a military base. Flags of Britain, the USSR, and the USA flutter on the flagpole, worn away by time. The asphalt underfoot is riddled with massive cracks, suggesting an earthquake occurred. Entering a church, they see the remains of dead people on the benches. Judging by the traces of cyanide, they committed suicide. While examining the building, they're attacked by spiders made of skulls. Then hollow people break down the doors, joining the chaos. Realizing tactical retreat is necessary, the observers blow up a wall with a grenade and escape through the resulting hole, avoiding worse outcomes. To leave open ground, they run to the gorge wall where a bunker door is located. Inside lies a scientific base overgrown with mold and covered in years of dust. Judging by the photo of the Yalta conference, it dates back to the 1940s. Levi finds a reel of film while Drasa locates a propane-powered generator. The pair starts it restoring power, then unpacks a projector carefully left behind and loads it with the film reel. On the recording, a scientist explains that in 1946, after inventing the atomic bomb, the West and East built a secret base to create biochemical weapons of similar power. However, when an earthquake struck, the obtained samples leaked into the atmosphere, infecting everyone present. Everyone living in the gorge merged with plant DNA and became carriers of biological infection. Moreover, contact with toxic fumes isn't very dangerous. If you move far enough away, within a few hours, irreversible genome damage can be avoided. Levi finds more modern equipment from the early 2000s belonging to the private company Dark Lake in the lab. He understands they're studying biomaterial using drones, one of which they saw. He also learns what the stray dog protocol means. If security is compromised, a process will initiate detonating a nuclear bomb that will destroy everything within a 4-kilometer radius. The couple plans to escape before getting infected. But upon exiting, they discover that mutants aren't so dumb. They stole Drasa's bag with ammunition and left it outside as bait. When the girl tried to grab it, she got caught in a prepared lasso. A saddle pulls the prey away. Despite attempts to cut the rope or shoot the kidnapper, the sniper loses consciousness after hitting a log. Levi runs after his friend to save her. He reaches a rocket silo emitting poisonous red smoke. Below, Drasa regains consciousness tied up in the captor's lair. Kicking him, she manages to escape free herself and a fight ensues. Using improvised tools, she defends herself, but this only infuriates the mutant. Nevertheless, a precise shot from the arriving Levi ends the duel. They escape the shaft where a damaged rocket from the earthquake lies. Exactly the leakage of chemicals from such rockets led to the contamination of the gorge. The couple makes its way through growth resembling a mold-covered blanket of human flesh, trying not to disturb it. However, Drasa, stepping on a piece, accidentally touches a disgusting web, getting tangled in it. Levi uses a saber to free her, but this provokes retaliation. To save themselves, the girl fires a grenade into the mass of appendages, burning the mutant. On the surface, they find a garage full of ancient vehicles. Levi devises a plan. Use the Jeep's winch to climb the wall. Connecting the battery and grabbing a gas can, they start the vehicle and race to the eastern wall. While the guy secures the rope to the winch, the girl shoots at attacking monsters. Then Drasa sits behind the wheel and hits the gas. The Jeep crawls up the vertical cliff with the strength of one horse. A Skyrim-like horse. However, hollow people don't think about giving up. They climb up the cliff and the rope. Trapping the pedal with a box, the couple fights off the advancing mutants, throwing their stiffened bodies down. Hanging on their arms over the abyss during the struggle, Levi punctures the gas can, dousing the enemies below. Then pulling himself up, he sets them on fire with a signal flare. Unfortunately, the Jeep gets damaged too. Then the snipers cut the rope and crawl higher on their own as it's not far left. At the top, Levi treats Drasa's wounds, after which they discuss what to do next. Both conclude they'll likely be disposed of after the mission. The girl suggests fleeing, but the guy objects, saying it won't solve the problem. Others will take their place, and the contamination threat will remain below. To prevent this, the gorge must be destroyed. Using a harpoon gun, Levi lays a rope across to return to his post for the scheduled communication session. Instead of the usual procedure, he's redirected to Bartholomew. The woman asks about the situation. The guy lies, saying nothing happened, unaware that his boss has a video recording of their journey into the gorge. Bartholomew orders him to eliminate the Eastern Observer, but realizing he'll disobey, gathers a cleanup team. The next day, Levi and Drasa, each on their side of the gorge, lay ropes from antenna to antenna. In the process, they spot an approaching helicopter and flee. The cleanup team led by Bartholomew arrives at the western post, but Levi is nowhere to be found. The woman orders armed reconnaissance drones to locate the fugitives and examines the premises herself. Running in the mountains, the snipers gauge distances while being spotted by armed drone-mounted machine guns. During the shootout, Levi trips over a log, causing a limp, but sequentially downs both devices. Likewise, Drasa disables both drones with a precise shot and continues running. Reaching a specific mark, the snipers take positions ready to shoot. Bartholomew notices secret messages behind the bookshelf. Levi had time to leave one of his there, a quote from Buddha about how the sun, moon, and truth cannot be hidden for long. At that moment, the snipers shoot explosives installed on the cover antennas, detonating them and triggering a chain reaction through a previously laid fuse. Throwing their rifles aside, they run away as the antennas explode one after another, depriving the gorge of invisibility from satellites. Immediately after the last explosion, the air siren sounds warning of the activation of the stray dog protocol. Bartholomew and the mercenaries board a helicopter to escape in time before the pre-prepared nuclear bomb explodes in the gorge. The flame wave destroys the breeding ground of the mutated plague, simultaneously catching up with the helicopter and throwing it apart. The shockwave throws limping Levi off the cliff into the river. He falls into the river and slowly walks to the bottom, while Drasa, having escaped to a safe distance, watches the fiery inferno behind her. Later, she waits for her beloved in a nearby cave, marking days on the wall and examining the envelope he gave her in case he doesn't make it. Eventually, not waiting for the guy, the girl heads to France, continuing to hope he'll come. But losing all hope, she opens the farewell letter at sunset as instructed, and finds the poems Levi wrote before they met in person. In April, Drasa works as a waitress, forgetting her military past. One day, serving another order, she notices live Levi at the next table. He apologizes for coming so late. The happy couple kisses against the backdrop of a seascape. And with that, the movie ends.